I'm Wang Zhaojun, perhaps the most ill-fated beauty in Chinese history. Endowed with extraordinary looks, I was unfortunately buried deep with the imperial palace due to an offense against a court painter. In a bid to defy my destiny, I embarked on a long journey to marry into the Xiongnu, a tribe thousands of miles away. Tragically, I lost my husband prematurely and was forced to marry my stepson. Eventually, I passed away in the desolate desert of foreign land. Yet I'm also one of the rare women who have been engraved in the annals of history. My sacrifice brought about glorious 50-year-long peace between the Han Dynasty and the Xiongnu. I was born into an ordinary family in the countryside of Han Dynasty, nurtured by the tender love of my parents. By all accounts, I should have married a kind-hearted young man from a neighboring village, raised children, cared for my parents, and led a simple, blissful life, surrounded by the idyllic landscapes of my hometown. But fate had other plans. My beauty, it seemed, was the catalyst that would upend my life. In 38 before century, at the tender age of 15, Emperor Yuan of Han Dynasty had a grand selection among the common folks. As the most radiant flower of my county, I was chosen as a palace maid, bidding farewell to my familiar village and stepping into mysterious and awe-inspiring capital city of Chang'an. The imperial palace, though resplendent, was pervaded with an air of coldness and detachment. Hordes of beautiful concubines vied for the emperor's favor, resorting to every conceivable means. I, overly confident in my own allure, refused to bribe the court painter Mao Yanshou. In retaliation, he deliberately distorted my portrait, consigning me to the shadow of the oblivion within the palace. Each time I waited the emperor's summons, it ended in crushing disappointment. Amidst the towering palace walls and the melancholic melodies of the pipa, I often found myself questioning, must my entire life be squandered in this cold, heartless palace? 5 years later, the Xiongnu leader Hu Hanyu arrived seeking a marriage alliance with the Han Dynasty. Due to the Xiongnu's past barbaric plundering and their vastly different nomadic lifestyle from that of the Han people, the noble families shared a way in honor loath to send their daughter to such a distant and unfamiliar land. The palace maids were even more terrified, regarding it as a veritable path to hell. But I alone stepped forward bravely and volunteered to marry into the Xiongnu. I saw this as my chance to rewrite my destiny. I knew that a life of endless waiting in the palace was far more despairing than the uncertainties of new life among the Xiongnu. I was determined not to yield the fate imposed by the times. I was going to carve out my own choices. Just before my departure, Emperor Yuan finally summoned me. The moment he laid eyes on my true beauty, regret consumed him. But it was too late. Hu Hanyu had also fallen head over heels for me at first sight. After I left, Emperor Yuan, seething with rage, immediately executed the scheming painter and confiscated his ill-gotten gains of millions. On the frigid morning, the city gates of Chang'an creaked open slowly. Dressed in a resplendent wedding gown, I mounted a magnificent steed with a magnificent and imposing wedding procession trailing behind me. The mournful strains of the pipa echoed in the wind, accompanying me on my journey. The road to Xiongnu was long and arduous, filled with boundless yellow sand and an overwhelming sense of solitude. I looked back time and again, watching the land of Han Dynasty recede into the distance, my heart heavy with reluctance. The whispers of cooking smoke from my hometown and the familiar voices of my fellow villagers gradually faded from my sight. The biting cold wind lashed at my face like a knife, yet it couldn't sever my deep-seated yearning for my homeland. But I knew there was no turning back. For the sake of peace, I had to press forward into the unknown. This was the solemn mission bestowed upon me by fate. This is the journey of Wang Zhaojun to the Xiongnu that has been enshrined in history and celebrated through the age. After months of arduous travel, I finally reached the Xiongnu territory. To my pleasant surprise, Huhan Chanyu was a heroic and magnanimous leader, treating me with the utmost respect. I was actually aware that I was merely the Changyu's wife, but also the envoy of peace between the Han Dynasty and the Xiongnu. I wholeheartedly strived to adapt to the new culture, the harsh climate, the unique diet, and nomadic way of life on the grassland. In addition to mastering the Xiongnu language and customs, I learned skills such as horse riding, milking, and cheese making. I also imparted the textile and embroidery techniques of the Han Dynasty to the Xiongnu women. With our joint efforts, trade between the Han Dynasty and the Xiongnu flourished, and the flames of war on the border gradually died down. The common people could finally live and work in peace and contentment. The dawn of peace brought this land, and all my efforts seemed more than worthwhile. However, tragedy struck again. Just 3 years later, Huhan Chanyu suddenly passed away. My world crumbled in an instant. In the depths of my grief, the cruel hand of fate continued to torment me. According to the Xiongnu slavery system, I was compelled to marry the successor, Fuzhulei Chanyu, the son of Huhan Chanyu and his former wife, who was also my stepson. The custom violated the ethical and moral values I'd been stowed with in the Han Dynasty, plunging me into the abyss of inner turmoil. I pleaded with the Han court for help, yearning to end this marriage alliance and return to my homeland, only to be met with a cold and heartless refusal. After remarrying, I once more tried to adapt to my new husband Fuzhulei Chanyu. The Yan had a personality starkly different from that of Huhan Chanyu. Countless nights, as I lay on the same foul blanket, my back turned to him, silent tears streamed down my face. I constantly questioned within myself, why has fate been so cruel to me? Legend has it that 11 years later, Fuzhulei Chanyu passed away, and I was allegedly forced to marry his younger brother, Soushe Ruodi Chanyu. Whether this is true or not, no longer matters. I've never once regretted my decision to marry into the Xiongnu. With my entire life, I maintained 50-year-long peace between the Han Dynasty and the Xiongnu, sparing countless lives from the ravage of war. My name will be remembered throughout history, and I'm truly proud of this great mission I've accomplished. Each desperate situation I faced taught me resilience and made me realize that even in the most trying of times, as long as there is life, there is hope. Yet the days in this foreign land were interminably long and excruciatingly painful. Until I die, I never returned to my hometown, which I've yearned for day and night. The prosperity of Chang'an, the warmth of my parents' embrace, and the memories of the Han Palace have all become indelible scars in my heart. Physically and mentally exhausted, at the age of 38, I'm ready to leave this world. I will lie in this beautiful grassland, taking my story with me. As I close my eyes for the last time, I earnestly pray that this world will never witness another war and that there will never be another Wang Zhaojun who has to sacrifice herself for the sake of peace.